Ferrari gutted over Bahrain nightmare, Adrian Newey reveals Red Bull issues. Yet another demoralising Ferrari failure at the Bahrain Grand Prix had to be addressed by Charles Leclerc in front of the cameras and microphones, which has become a depressingly common occurrence for the Monegasque driver. It was the latest example of something that was a dominant theme of the 2022 season, a season in which poor reliability and team error doomed Leclerc's title bid. Unsurprisingly, his behaviour has shifted since then. Last year in Spain, following the first indication of Ferrari's engine fragility that would lead to the demise of its title aspirations, he made an effort to mask his annoyance and instead inspire his disheartened team. The Charles Leclerc we heard from later in the 2022 season, however, looked and sounded more dissatisfied and less eager to highlight the benefits, in a way very similar to how he addressed the media in Bahrain on Sunday evening. In such conditions, no driver should be expected to be happy, most of all a driver who has just experienced that kind of setback. Given that Ferrari has prioritised reliability issues over the winter, failing at the first hurdle raises serious concerns. As Leclerc pointed out himself, how can you look for positives after a day like that? Despite Ferrari team boss Fred Vasseur's claim that the team was able to equal Red Bull in the opening stint, Leclerc was actually just keeping Sergio Perez in check while Max Verstappen sped away up the road. Later, Leclerc acknowledged that he was off by a second per lap. "It's not good enough," he said. "We are far from Red Bull, so we need to push and understand what they found during this break because they are on another planet on race pace. I mean, for now, we don't know. We are fast in qualifying, but we are not fast in the race, and it's not by a little. So I think Red Bull found something big somewhere and we need to find that. It is very difficult to understand because obviously the car from quali to race is not changing at all, but for some reason on one lap we're very close to them and in the race we are a second away in some parts of the race. It's crazy, the difference, so we need to look into it. Last year, this simply wasn't the case. Back then, losing wins or podiums was made somewhat more bearable by being able to look at what was genuinely a show of the Ferrari's exceptional performance. It lessens some of the anger if a driver can be enthusiastic about looking forward to getting back into the car and fighting for more victories. This time, Leclerc and Ferrari don't have that consolation prize. Later, on Sunday night, there was a video showing Leclerc walking through the Ferrari garage, finding people one at a time, shaking hands and setting an example. He's hardly the sort to take this out on his teammates. He's good at moving on. But beyond any initial sadness, the main worry is that this disappointment is a sign of more general and unfavourable season outlook. However, it seems as though there is still hope in the distance, at least for the time being. Whatever the Ferrari's current shortcomings, the season's development race is what will determine the title. And if there is one team with the resources to pull off a master stroke and outsmart Red Bull's brilliant Adrian Newey, it's Ferrari. "I'm completely convinced about this," said Vasseur when asked if the SF23 would be upgraded to take the fight to Red Bull. "I never saw a car that was able to match the pace of another one in quali and not be able to in the race. Then it is a matter of setup and some choices on the car. But this is not a matter of concept at all. I don't think that we have to go in this direction." However, the new Ferrari boss acknowledges that there is still much work to be done with regard to the power unit reliability. "We have to be fully realistic. If we want to improve, we have to have a clear picture of the situation, and the reliability is not at the level that we need." Another aggravating factor is the fact that Sakhir's track surface is among the roughest on the F1 calendar and hasn't been relaid since it was first laid down prior to the inaugural race of 2004. As a result of the abrasive surface and intense traction zones, the track is known for its high tyre degradation, which may have noted as a significant weakness for Ferrari. The Red Bull of last year was extremely difficult for Ferrari to race against despite having a higher peak downforce because of its outstanding aero efficiency. So, Ferrari prioritised straight-line speed this year, even at the expense of some downforce. As a result, the Ferrari uses up a lot of its rear tyres, which is a severe penalty given Bahrain's already high tyre degradation premium. Many argue that Sakhir didn't present the Ferrari in the best possible light, and that, in theory, it should be closer at more typical tracks. As you saw in my battle with Fernando, it also nearly cost me a position to Lewis. As soon as we pushed this car on these tyres, you just go backwards and you start degrading, explained Sainz. "It is clearly our biggest point of weakness, and clearly Red Bull and Aston Martin are doing something with the tyres that we don't fully understand. We need to find it because it's costing us in the race. I believe we can be competitive in Jeddah because the tarmac allows you to push more. There's less deg. We only have one example, that is Bahrain with these cars. We've been here for 7 days running these cars. It is clear what our problem is in Bahrain, so let's see in Jeddah with a different tarmac track and it's a bit more front limited, which could help us. However, despite the fact that they seem to run into issue after issue, Ferrari wasn't the only team that struggled with their car setup. In fact, before Verstappen took off into the lead on Sunday, the team appeared to be in a vulnerable position as the world champion complained about the handling of the RB19 car in finishing almost 2/10 behind Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin in FP2. And despite the Spaniard taking the lead in the final practice session as well, Red Bull mounted a recovery in qualifying as Verstappen claimed a comfortable pole position. After suffering a double DNF in the opening race last year, Chief Technical Officer Adrian Newey praised Red Bull's strong start to the season, but admitted the victory wasn't as straightforward as it looked. He told the F1 Nation podcast, "Last year was a proper mare for us, that's for sure. I think 2011 was the last time we won the first race, so it's the end of a long dry spell in that sense. The test went well for us, we thought we had a competitive car. FP1, I must admit, kind of wiped the smile off us a bit because we had a few problems, and the boys reacted really well. We had quite a long evening on Friday night going over those problems. With the teams running restricted to a short shakedown session and a 3-day pre-season test a week ahead of the first race, Newey confirmed that the issues Red Bull faced in Bahrain has not surfaced in the team's season opening preparations. In addition, he disclosed that an unexpected reliability issue on Friday took some time to resolve, further cutting into the limited time they had to set up the car. Verstappen asserted in Bahrain that the RB19 was an improvement in all respects over their car that won all but 5 races in 2022. But Newey has cautioned against making such predictions given the Bahrain circuit unique requirements, which gave Red Bull a significant advantage in tyre deg. Verstappen and Perez were 2 of the only 3 in the top 10 to change to a second set of soft tyres at the first round of pit stops. It was an offensive move with a defensive purpose, allowing Red Bull to shut down the race at the earliest opportunity once Perez had dealt with Charles Leclerc on lap 26. This was only possible thanks to their superior tyre management, and this season we won't see such a big difference in that department very often. Those kinds of daring strategy calls also become a whole lot easier to make when there is complete confidence in the pit crew to make them work. And since Red Bull has repeatedly broken the record for the quickest pit stop race in the bar even despite modifications to wheel and tyre profiles and pit regulations, that factor is unlikely to change anytime soon. There will be races this season where Red Bull doesn't look like the fastest team, where they don't execute their strategy flawlessly and where their drivers aren't the first to see the checkered flag. How soon and how often that can happen, however, is a different question, and some things suggest that it might happen much later and much rarer than we originally expected. So, what do you think of Red Bull's Bahrain performance? Will things at the top be more competitive at Jeddah? How can Ferrari turn things around and avoid a repeat of 2022? We'd love to hear from you in the comment section below. If you're looking for more F1 news, check out our video on Mercedes' catastrophic Bahrain showing here. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell button to be notified of future videos.